What's up guys, it's Stock Picks by Tim, and in this video I'm going to go over 5 small caps to buy now. We're also going to glance at the overall market on TradingView, and we're also going to look at Bitcoin. It is up, possibly going to break out of a trend here. Now make sure you like and subscribe. I put out daily videos. Don't forget to ring the notification bell, and let's go over to TradingView's heat map. And you'll see behind me that we're relatively mixed across the board. I'd say there's a little overall more red than green, but it is a relatively mixed day and not extremely volatile. And it's a similar story for small caps. We've got a little bit of up and a little bit of down. Now pulling up Bitcoin here, and you can see this all the way to the beginning of the year. We did bounce off this trend here. We bounced again in February, and we just bounced again. And zooming in, you'll see we all have been creating lower lows and lower highs, but we are about to break out of this trend. Keep an eye on this. By the time you watch this, we may have already broke out, or we may get rejected and continue chopping around here, but keep an eye on it. The MACD is beginning to curl, the RSI is pointing down, although in the neutral area. Now you'll see on this chart behind me, this is Bitcoin dominance, and this is based on percentage of market cap. You'll see that it has a 42% Bitcoin dominance, and this is continuing to rise. So as this trend continues, I do expect altcoins to underperform compared to Bitcoin to the upside, and then to the downside, altcoins will fall farther than Bitcoin is to fall. So right now, I personally see Bitcoin as the best thing to mainly add to, main focus on Bitcoin, especially during any bearishness, but also handpicking a few of your own personal favorite projects to add as well. Now, as for weighting, I do like to keep Bitcoin at about half of my crypto portfolio. Ethereum is another 15-20%, and then the rest goes to altcoins. So I leave about 30-40% towards altcoins. And of that mix, I have roughly 5 to 10 altcoins throughout that mix. But let me know in the comments below how you split up your crypto. Are you majority in Bitcoin? Are you majority in Ethereum? Do you just have only Dogecoin? What's going on? Now let's look over a couple of small caps that I'm watching very closely, and I'm sure it's no surprise that I'm going to mention Cleanspark. And this is CLSK. Now you'll see that before earnings we were roughly in this $5.50 area, and we are now very near that zone. I'm actually extremely impressed, extremely surprised that we are this low again. And now be aware that we are in a continued downtrend. I don't want to see us break this 639, 640 level, otherwise we will fall further and possibly test this 550. I find it highly unlikely. Earnings is just around the corner. We might kind of chop around this area. I really don't expect that we're going to create any new lows unless some just really bad news came out for earnings. I don't expect it though. I definitely see CleanSpark as a long-term add at its price, and even under $10, I'd argue it's great for an add-in. Now, next up, we're going to look at ChargePoint here, and ChargePoint, I'd argue, is another great one to add for the long term. Now, looking at it as of late, we did hit about $12.50 before bouncing off. We are retesting it, possibly breaking under it. So keep an eye on ChargePoint. We might be in for some more choppy waters. We are still in this downward wedge or downward channel, you could call it. And we do have a low point of about $11.50. And I believe this is actually the only one today that I'm mentioning that doesn't have earnings coming up very soon. It is about a month out. So this could definitely chop around. It could test this all-time low here. It also does depend on what the market does. It depends on kind of what EVs do. This can get pushed around with the EV market. So keep an eye on ChargePoint. I definitely love it long term. I think their revenue is going to continue to increase. That does seem to be the trend. And we're going to get very close to over $100 million in revenue next quarter. That's what I expect. I could be wrong. Now, as a side note, the EV charging infrastructure market was valued at about $8 billion, $8.8 billion. In 2021, and is projected to reach about $23 billion by 2028, expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of about 15%. And I think ChargePoint is going to continue to dominate the market. And looking at their balance sheet, they have really nice cash to debt. They have $30 million in debt and about $300 million in cash. But just remember that they are a money-burning company. They are not yet profitable. So there's definitely risk in this one. Next, I wanted to mention Indi Semiconductors. I'm extremely bullish on this one. This is my highest conviction semiconductor stock, and their earnings is coming up very soon as well. I believe this one's going to be next week, so stay tuned for that. I will be covering it. This one I'm extremely bullish on. We're steadily seeing higher lows, although recently we did break a lower low, but we have since broken out over $7. I see about $7.25 as our next resistance. We need to break $7.25 so we can push towards that 8. As I've said before with Indi, they supply chips to some of the leading auto manufacturers. They have an executive team that can't be beat with over 20 years of experience working together at companies like Broadcom, Axiom, Skyworks, Cirrus Logic. Definitely a killer executive team. Highly recommend you look into Indi. Now, I also wanted to mention Astra. This one is reporting the same day as CleanSpark on May the 5th, so be ready for that. It's coming up right around the corner, and we're likely on the call going to get some information in terms of their leostella their sales of their engines to Leostella, so we might get some increased revenue guidance on that. So stay tuned for their webcast, and we're also going to get information on their next launch, their future launches, and also their Rocket 4, which they have been working on and should be launching at the end of this year. So definitely keep an eye on Astra. Now, looking at Astra's chart, it does appear to me that it's trying to establish this support at this $3 area. We have broke $3 once. We came to about 280. But ever since then, it's just been hovering over 3. I want to see this continue to stay over 3 up until earnings. I definitely see Astra as a great time to add in if you're long term with it. Next is one I haven't mentioned in a little while, and this is going to be Senseonics, or SENS. And their earnings is expected May 10th, so next week, coming up very soon. Now, as for Senseonics, I personally expect this one that they're going to be raising their forward guidance on this one because they were FDA approved for their 6-month CGM, continuous glucose monitoring device. And this is going to add to their revenue expectations in the future, I expect. Maybe not for the quarter they're going to guide on, but for future quarters. So stay tuned on earnings. We might get some future guidance on the next quarter. I kind of doubt it. I think it'll be future quarters, but keep an eye on that. We're going to see some increased guidance from their CGM, their 6-month CGM, very innovative product. And looking at it on the chart, you'll see it's been in a continued downtrend. Once we broke this channel, or once we broke this kind of upward trend we were on, it just continued down, found it as a resistance there, it just continued, couldn't break back out. We hit a low of about 135, so I don't want to see us break that again. We found that as a base back here. We're pushing back higher. Keep an eye on this one. We are uptrending on the RSI following this trend line, and the MACD is curling up. The MACD is curling up. RSI starting to look bullish. I think Senseonics can push higher. I don't want to see us break this 135 critical level to watch. Keep an eye on it. But that's it for you today, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I definitely appreciate your support, and until next time, take it easy.